Reimer, who was essentially assaulted, like really,
Yeah.
trying to shed light on and denounce this Calgary public library drag story time. And it always just makes me wonder why our tax dollars are going to fund these institutions like a library, which isn't really an institution, but a public service, to host these sorts of events. Like, if you want to do the drag weirdness, go and expose your children to that kind of stuff, then go in your own time and do it, and go and pay somewhere to rent a facility if they would even let you. But why do our tax dollar funded spaces have to go towards this? So let's show this clip of Pastor being assaulted.
Voice memo. Okay, we don't have our cameras up.
We are now calling the police. Stop. We have the police coming, so it is your choice to leave or deal with the police.
Very abusive in there.
We are going
For
to...
love is love. That looks like very hateful, very abusive.
Jeez.
For love is love, right?
Okay. As a parent of kids in there, you need to get out.
Why are you so uncomfortable with this conversation? Because we don't understand the
Voice memo. Okay.
Okay, that's insane. So,
yeah.
Derek is Fight the Fines client number 2, by the way. Just behind Pastor Art, he was in trouble for the same thing, feeding the homeless in downtown Calgary and caring about Calgary's forgotten people during the time of COVID. So we know Pastor Derek very well. But what I think is remarkable, by the way, we do have a campaign because Calgary's Mayor Jyoti Gondek is trying to weaponize Calgary's anti-harassment law, which is unconstitutional on its face because there are such things as harassment laws that are in the criminal code and not bylaw problems. She wants to weaponize it to shut up anti-drag protesters who are, like Pastor Derek, outraged at government facilities and little kids being exposed to these in government funded facilities. I don't think little kids should be exposed to drag at all. I think it's an adult burlesque thing. But if adults want to do this in private places, okay, who cares? I won't go, but these are private companies making business decisions. Not who cares, but I don't think there's a place for me to be all that interested in it. It's the showing it to little kids in a library, which is supposed to be a safe place for little kids. Like, if you want to read little kids a book, read them a book. Why do you got to do it dressed as a lady? Like, that's
What
more than I don't
librarians?
understand. Yeah,
Reading
the
children
librarians
books,
are
like wholesome. That's their job.
They're supposed to look like Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus, right?
Yes.
But there are things. So, by the way, getting back to the campaign. So we have fightcensorshipfines.com. If you get one of these anti-harassment laws for peacefully protesting a drag queen event in Calgary, let us know. Go to fightcensorshipfines.com and submit your fine there. Tell us your story. And if you want to make a donation to help people like Pastor Derek, obviously there, you can do that at the same website. And it is done in partnership with the Democracy Fund, so you qualify for a charitable tax credit, because we don't think protesting government policy should be illegal anywhere, no matter where you fall down on this issue, which is funny because some of the more frisky anti-drag queen protesters, so the pro drag queen people who show up to want to fight Pastor Derek, some of them were charged under the anti-harassment law because they showed up with megaphones and they're being obnoxious and making noise. And the Calgary police said, this actually falls under the unconstitutional bylaw. Let's ticket them. And so now the Canadian Anti-Hate Network is beside themselves because they got what they wished for. However, they didn't want the anti-harassment law equally applied. They only wanted it applied to their political enemy. So now they're mad. But what we're seeing, Derek is right. There are places where little kids are not supposed to be. You know what? Sometimes I go to wrestling events and sometimes they're not all ages. Sometimes I go to MMA and those are not quite frequently all ages because the violence or whatever.
Mhm.
And I understand that I get the point. Now wrestling is kind of campy. So, I mean, come on, settle down. And I think parents can make the decisions for that kind of stuff. But this is hypersexualization. People dressed as men, confusing kids and doing a normal thing like reading a book, which is, I think, what I find so sinister. But did you hear? There's a long way for me to get to this one point. Did you hear what the lady said when she was talking to whoever it was when they like assaulted Pastor Derek? We don't want the kids in here to be upset. And I'm like, that's why Derek's there. Derek is also there for the same reason. They're like, we don't want the kids to be exposed to his hate and his violence. And I'm like, you guys just shoved him around, beat him up in front of a bunch of kids. You guys are really concerned about the kids? Give me a break.
Well, and actions speak louder than words. And so naturally, these children, as you already mentioned, are going to be so confused because on one hand, they hear all this fluffy, flowery language being espoused. And on the other side, they see the actions are directly conflicting with what is being said to them. So, I mean, the assault on your ability to rationalize and make logical sense of these situations from a young child is just astronomically awry in this whole situation of drag story time, and further compounded by the way that they are acting in videos like this and in other videos that we've seen, like that series that Drea put out with the protesters outside, and they call for Antifa and the intimidation tactics. It's really, really gross to see, and especially seeing it all be reinforced by bureaucrats and politicians. And then, of course, the mainstream media, who turns a blatant blind eye to the aggression and the violence and the intimidation, while trying to hold up and prop up this narrative of love is love and inclusivity and tolerance. And again, it's the same hypocrisy that you see over and over again in the government and in the world and in the policies that are just on different realms of hypocrisy. But it's all hypocritical, and you can point out the holes all day long. But until the masses start to see it, and until the mainstream media starts to take their job of doing actual journalism seriously, unfortunately, people have to rely on places like us to get those reports and get that other side and see the full scope of what's going on in the world, because there are rose-colored glasses being put on everything.
That's a clip from something we call Rebel News Daily. It's our daily live stream hosted by my friend David Menzies, but the show also includes a rotating cast of hosts and special guests, including me. It's a great way for us to talk about the news of the day as the news is happening in an unscripted fashion, and it's an awesome way for you to interact with us as well. We stream every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Mountain, wherever you find Rebel News. See you there.